How's it going, everybody? John here. I am super excited. Ever since I've got my four-wheel camper, I've been wanting one of these. It's going to make my summer camping that much more enjoyable. We got the OutEquip 12-volt heating and air conditioning unit that's going right on top of the four-wheel camper. Guys, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I am super excited. Let's go ahead and see what's in the box. We got everything out of the box. Everything came in one piece. Nothing's broken. The control panel looks really nice. I really like the white and black. It's going to match really well inside the four-wheel camper. The other thing that really impressed me is, a lot of projects I've been doing lately, there's no instructions. But these instructions, they're in color. I couldn't believe it. Really easy to read, not super fine print. I know I'm not super old, but having big enough font that you can read easily, you don't have to hold it to your face, is also really nice. The other thing that I'm really excited about this unit is when you run the cable, we're actually going to be running it through, because on the four-wheel camper all the walls are enclosed already, right? So I can't hide wires through the wall. I'm going to have to run this cable along the roof and then down the side, but at least I'll be able to tuck it into the wall that pops up and down at least, and then that way you barely even really see it. The other reason why I'm really excited about this unit is option 3. Option 3 is going to be my lifesaver in not drilling holes in my roof. I have to run a cable for my Starlink, and then I also need to run a new thicker gauge cable for our larger solar panel that's going to hook up to our Red Arc Alpha 50. Overall, everything that came in here looks really nice, looks really easy to install. The thing that I'm actually dreading the most, this install looks really easy. Removing the old Dometic fan off the top of this four-wheel camper is actually what I'm more nervous about. They used so much glue, so let's go ahead and get working on that. I also really wanted to note that I'm really happy about is on my last trip up to Big Bear, I had my wife and my 5-month-old son with me. It was really nice during the day, but at night it dropped down to really cold. I think it was like 28 degrees, which for my wife and a 5-month-old baby was a little tough. We have a Dometic heating unit on the four-wheel camper, but unfortunately we had a propane leak. Having the OutEquip also giving us a secondary source of heat in case we ever had a problem, especially if we're somewhere super remote. It could be very dangerous or so for any freezing condition. Just having a backup is just always nice to have. Here's what we're working with up here on the roof with the old Dometic fan. As you can see, they use some pretty good quality sealant around this thing and on top of every single bolt. I'm pretty sure I have the correct bit for that size. I just have to slowly cut around each one of these bolts. I've already kind of scored this one a little bit. It's definitely going to take a little bit more effort than I thought. I went ahead and cut a seam around the bottom right here. That was pretty easy to get through, but you can't just peel this stuff up like I was hoping, like a normal caulking. This stuff is pretty dang solid, which is really good. You definitely don't want any leaks from this stuff, but it's definitely going to take me a lot longer. Like I said, my biggest concern wasn't actually installing the OutEquip unit, it's getting this guy uninstalled from the roof of the four-wheel camper. What I found to work the fastest and easiest is a wire brush and just running it over like that, and that's how I've been able to get all the stuff out around it. So it's getting dark and the wire wheel method worked really well. I got all these screws off on this side and this side. I'm just gonna move the ladder to the other side of the camper. And these two have already been broken loose. When I move the ladder, I'll get these and then the ones in the back. Before I move the ladder, I have a spackle paddle right here that I use to fix the drywall. It's metal, it's really strong. What I've been doing is, just because this glue is really strong, I even bent the corner unfortunately over there. So what I've been doing is just with the hammer tapping it in all the way to the inner seam, and then that way I definitely have to use the hammer to tap that because it's just this glue is crazy strong. But I was at least able to get it in, tap it in, and then work this thing side to side. So what I'm trying to do on this side is just break all the glue on this side before I move to the other side to make it easier. Finally got that old Dometic unit off the roof. If anyone needs a Dometic unit, by the way, and you're in Southern California, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to trade you for some Red Bull. The next biggest thing that I was super regretting is how am I going to get all that butyl tape off? So what I did is I went ahead and soaked all the butyl tape with some Goo Gone, went to town with the spatula for the bigger stuff, and then the small little detailed stuff I used a little plastic razor blade, and that's how I got all the small stuff off. Once I got all that taken care of, I went ahead, wiped the surface down with some 70% isopropyl alcohol, and let me go ahead and show you what we did on the roof. Here's what we got done on top. You can see I have all the old holes where the Dometic fan was screwed in. I'm gonna go around with all the glue I have for the sealant that I got. We'll go ahead, seal up all those holes, and then prep the gasket that comes with the OutEquip air conditioning unit. Biggest thing I've been asking myself, and I slept on this thought yesterday, just really trying to figure out which gasket I want to use. They have this one, but what everyone talks about is that it comes way too long, so I cut them in half to the exact opening so that when they're open, they're square, or to the 14 by 14 opening. Just the more I thought about it, just the more like I questioned it. But they also give you this one as the spacer for the unit. I was like, and this one's also a perfect fit. Which one do I use, right? That's what I've been asking myself. I might be wrong, but I'm gonna go with this one. It's just nice. I mean, I know it has glued seams, but at least the seams are all pretty well put together. I'm also gonna go around the entire thing with some OSI sealant. I hope I'm making the right choice. Along the edge of the unit, there's these holes here where these Phillips head screws are. I just got one left right here, and then we can take the cover off. But we have the cover removed. What we have to do is pull this power cable all the way through. We'll have to unbolt the fuse that's on there because it will not fit through the hole that's there. We got the wire all pulled through. I have a nice long screwdriver, and based off of the cavity inside and where the wires are running already, I'm 85% sure I'm gonna go to make the hole right here. But before I go to town with the hole saw bit, I think we're gonna go the safe route. Like I said, stab the screwdriver through. Once I fill it with my finger, I'm gonna use that same hole as the pilot hole for the hole saw bit. So that's where I stick the screwdriver in, and if you look inside, tilt it up, you can see the tip of the screwdriver head right there. So I'm really confident that running the hole saw bit through there is going to work just fine. I'm really happy with how that came out. Let me go ahead, get the wire fed, and zip tie it into place. So I did end up not using these. I'm going to use this one that's already pre-made or pre-cut from OutEquip. And what I'm gonna do first, because I have all those holes in there from the Dometic fan, I'm going to fill all the holes first with the OSI Quad Max. I'm gonna fill it and then run a bead along the edge right here. I ran a really thick bead of caulking around the seal. I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not. It kind of like came through a little bit. What I'm gonna do now is run a bead of caulking along the outside seam, just to be extra sure. Overall, I am super happy with how the outside seam went. I went really heavy and then just rounded it out with my fingertip. All right, here's a big thing I want to go over. I know no one else has really talked about it in any other videos. Here's what I did. I have my solar inputs right here, power negative. I got my Starlink right here, and then power to the air conditioning unit. I have it ran through here on where the power cable would normally go through, but this is just access to the roof. So I left myself a few feet of Starlink, and I left a few feet of solar panel plugs. So all I gotta do, what we have here is it ran through here. It all went into the hole I drilled. Here's where the operation panel will be on the inside and where the wires get fed into the camper. We go ahead, now you can see that it comes in through here, and I ran it to this side because that's the direction we'll be going with these wires. I zip tied the main power connectors. I left the fuse disconnected just because I'll have to run it through some more tight openings. Here's the solar cable and the Starlink. So all this is going to have to go through the 14 by 14 inch opening. My next step is putting the cover back on. Wish me luck for getting it up this ladder and on top of the camper. I'm really not looking too forward to this part. I'm actually a little nervous. It's not light, but it's not like crazy heavy at the same time, so might just strap it to my chest and let's carry it up there. Cannot believe it, I got it on the roof first try, and since I didn't use these foam gaskets, I put them up here on the roof. I just went like that with 2 of them and then slowly walked it up the ladder, and then I rested the bottom, or actually the right side of the unit, on top of these pads, and then I just slid them forward, and there's the other pad right there. And while I had it up on its right, I had the rooftop cables, and then I had the cables that I ran inside the unit. So as I was sitting right here on the side, I ran all the cables into the hole. I haven't mounted anything yet. All I've done is just get it up on the roof, and now I'm gonna go inside and do my best just to kind of center it based off of the opening. And all right, we have the air conditioning unit all lined inside the cab. I'm really happy with how the vent lines up. And now that we're up here, we need to install the supports that go on the back of the unit. Let me go ahead and show you how I did that. The 2 foam pads that go on the bottom and the back, they're just the strips that go along. A lot of people stick them to the roof. I end up just sticking them to the unit, just because the unit's gonna get pulled down with tension from the mount inside. And I figure if I ever had to take it off or anything, like, I might as well just leave it stuck to the air conditioning unit. It's just easier that way. And then while I was up here, this thing hasn't been bolted down yet. It's still loose. So when I go inside to finalize the fitment, I just want to get it aligned up here as best as I could. I'm pretty happy with that alignment, so I'm pretty sure inside will be perfectly fine. Here's the wires that I wanted to talk about too. The wires for my solar and my Starlink come out where the power cable used to. And then I have it ran all the way around. There's my Starlink dish installed, and then there's my solar panel right there. I will be upgrading that solar panel at a later time. We have it all pre-wired, so when I get the bigger solar panel in there, we'll be able to hook it up no problem. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it looks up here on the roof. I think I'm completely done up here. I don't want to have to come back up here again. So let's go inside, open up the camper, and check the alignment. All right, so this is what the unit looks like without the control panel. And what I was trying to say is, for centering, I mean, there's no like perfect, so all I was doing is just checking the finger gap on the control panel mount right there, and then my finger gap on the control panel on this side, and it's all pretty even. And then same thing with the front mounting bolts. I just checked the gap here and the gap here. I'm super happy with it. So this is the seam to the outside. There's no air gap. I don't see any light coming through on this mount right here. So there's 4 bolts that go into the bottom side of this, and depending on your opening, so I already have the cutout for a 14-inch, so I use the bolt that goes right here and the bolt that goes in right here. The one that goes right here is a little bit shorter, so they give you 4 of these mounting bolts right here, and they're different lengths depending on your circumstance. My front one, I use the 2 of the cast ones, and then these stainless ones are what I use in the back, and they're a little bit longer. So what happened though with this being longer is now I got more meat of the thread sticking through, and it hits the base or the bezel of the control panel, and I can't get it as flat to the ceiling as I want. So I tightened this one just to get a reference. So I'm gonna mark it right here with my pen, and then I'm gonna cut this stud shorter. That way my bezel is closer to the ceiling. And I checked with all my wires coming through, it does clear. So I'm happy about that. It's gonna look nice and clean. Well, we're gonna wrap these wires so it's all one nice, one unit and not a bunch of wires like just hanging out there. And then I'm gonna have to work on getting these wires all nice so when the camper opens and closes, it can bow the correct direction. And I'm gonna run it behind the insulation cover, and that way it will hide some of the wires, and then the rest will come down through here and into underneath the seat of the dinette, and that's where we're putting the nice big battery to run this air conditioning unit. So now that the alignment is all set, I'm really happy with the gaps. I test fit the panel, it all lines up. I'm gonna go ahead, undo these, and cut the stud shorter. I got the bolts all cut and installed. I got the bracket in. Everything looks pretty good. On these, I literally didn't go crazy tight. I just went enough just to pinch the outer foam right here. Made sure no lights coming through. All the way around the edge, just nice and firm. I mean, the unit's super tight. Like, I don't need to go strength of God on this or anything. I'm pretty confident it's not going anywhere. The long threaded rods are all the way threaded into the AC unit. There's no threads left, so that was like the one thing I wanted to make sure. As you can see, like the other end of the threaded rod is all the way into the unit, so it's got a good bite on all four corners. Here's the blower to the cooler right there. So I'm pretty happy with this. We got it all pretty much installed. All we gotta do now is just plug in the unit. And then before I do that, I have to cap the old wires to the 12 volt on the fan. And then I'm just gonna sleeve all these so it looks clean. Let's go ahead, get that all done. Now that I have all my wires ran just in a cable tie just for now, not organized yet, but I pulled the harness from the air conditioning unit, and here's the back of the bezel with the control board. They also already pre-installed a zip tie holder, so what I'm gonna do is run all the wires and zip tie them right, don't get in the way. The main thing I wanna touch on, you see this radiator or condenser right here? There's already foam gasket installed around the outside of it, all the way around. And then on the control panel, the vents right there have it on the outside here. So what you have to do is slide, let's see if I can kind of get that right there. So angle it. As it's caught in there, you can see it's going to just slide around that foam bezel, and then you're just gonna push it all the way up. But the hard thing is that you're gonna have the bezel on, and then we also wanna get all these wires hooked up and zip tied to that end so these wires also don't get pinched. So we have the control panel in place. I taped the bezel just to make it easier for handling and getting these screws lined up. It goes in right here, and it's pretty hard to see where it goes. So if you look through the cracks, you can see where the screw is supposed to go. I mean, the camera probably won't really pick it up because I have to get it right at the right angle. But as you put the screw through, you can see where it meets. Oh. But yeah, that's my best tip. The front right here, I haven't got that one in yet because it's really hard to see. This side I did get in, and I just kind of had to finesse as best I could. I used my phone light to look through there to find where the screw head goes. But yeah, let me get the other side in, and I think we'll be ready to get power installed in here. Now that we have the air conditioner installed on the roof, you might be asking yourself, John, there's no way the two lead acid batteries that you have in the four-wheel camper are gonna be able to power that air conditioning unit. And you are absolutely right. That's why we picked up this beast of a unit, the Watt Cycle 628 amp hours. Guys, this thing is a monster. We should be able to get plenty of power to last us the weekend, on top of the solar panel we're putting on the roof and the DC to DC red arc chargers. Super happy about that, guys. Let's go ahead and get this battery installed and turn on this AC because it is a scorcher outside today. Right now it is a scorching 87.6 degrees, and I just put the thermometer in here, so it's actually probably a little hotter, but I mean 87 is still really hot. And temporarily I just put the battery right here on the floor just to test out the AC unit. It is going in this little cubby right here. But guys, guess what? We have the AC set to 63 degrees and it is blowing nice and cool right now. It feels really good. I can't wait. I think I'm gonna go eat some Chipotle and come back, and this thing will be nice and cool. I have the max air fan going also, but I think I'm probably gonna turn that off. I don't wanna be blowing in any or wasting any of that precious cold air. I'll probably close the windows up too and just really see what this thing will put out. By the time it took me to go get batteries for the remote, closed up all the windows, closed up all the insulation, turned off the max air fan, we are at 84.2 degrees, and it is 91 degrees outside, guys. It is scorcher. It feels nice and cool in here. We were running it on turbo mode while we're gone, but now I turned it up to like 76 and on eco mode. So right now we are drawing 626.4 watts, 47.4 amps, and at this rate, I mean, we could definitely like turn it up to probably like 78 But even then, we're getting about 10.4 hours of runtime on here. I'm using this more of, I'm not going to be in the middle of Anza Borrego in the middle of August, so I'm not going to be worrying about running this, or outside temperature being about 100 degrees. Realistically, anywhere I go camping during the day will probably be at a high of maybe 80 degrees. So running this thing like at 70, 72, I'm sure we'd be able to double those run times. Right now, it is a scorcher here. I'm never going to be camping anywhere that's this hot. Go ahead and show you guys eco mode. Let's switch to eco and turn off turbo mode. Give it a second to switch over. And this thing's extremely quiet, by the way. It is quieter than my max air fan and this air conditioning. Eco mode at 78 degrees, which would be more than enough to like cool you down. You probably, I mean, if you had it set to 80 when it's 91 degrees outside, you'll probably feel a lot better. So let's see what we're getting runtime wise. All right, so now we're at 19.1 hours, 19.2 hours, and we're only pulling 389 watts and 29 amps. So that's much better. I mean, this is like a realistic use right here. I'm not gonna be running, I mean, maybe instead of running it on turbo mode, I'll just run it on the eco mode just for like 10 minutes before I come into the camper. Just get it down to a nice comfortable temperature before you go to bed. We're never really in the camper during the day. We're out exploring the trails. We're going and doing swimming by the lake, any outdoor activities. That's, you know, you don't go camping and go sit inside a camper. The realistic use for us for this air conditioning unit is just to cool the camper down before we go to bed, or warm the camper down before we go to bed, vice versa. Overall, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed the installation of the OutEquip air conditioning unit. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section down below. I do my best to answer all the questions. I'm gonna enjoy this nice air conditioning unit and go get myself some nice Chipotle. If you're curious about the battery and all the electrical and all the wiring I'm gonna be doing in this, it'll be on a separate video, so stay tuned for that. All right, guys, I'm out.